Welcome to the Fix Your Crown King podcast. My name is Rich Gibbons, and I'm the creator and host of the Fix Your Crown King podcast. I am a man and a strong advocate for mental health within men. I believe and support the processes of changing the stigma surrounded by mental health in men. This podcast was designed to be a safe haven, a place for men to come and talk about what it is they feel. Men who are confused or unsure about the daily struggles they face in life. Did you know that nearly 1 in 10 men experience some form of depression or anxiety, but less than half seek treatment? Feeling depressed or anxious is not unusual or shameful. Let's not make it shameful. After all, we wear crowns. Fix your crown, King. You deserve it. Welcome back, family, friends, and most of all, kings, to the Fix Your Crown King podcast. I'm your host, Rich Gibbons. Hey, today we have an awesome guest. We have Dr. John MacArthur, my brother in arms, my brother, I can say my friend now. We attended Airborne School together. I think today's episode will be very, very informative. So if you all will help me give him a warm welcome, Dr. John MacArthur. Hey, John, Dr. MacArthur, thank you so much for being a part of this platform. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Rich. Thanks for having me.
For sure, man. I appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule. Hey, for all the listeners out there who don't know you, obviously, do you mind giving them a quick intro of who you are and what you do and how we were introduced to each other, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Captain John MacArthur. I'm a microbiologist in the Army. I'm the chief of bacteriology at Tropical Center here in beautiful Hawaii. So basically my job is whenever you go to the doctor and you don't know if you have a cold or you have a flu or you have COVID and they swab you and take that sample, I'm the guy who runs that sample and tells you what you have. That's just, a pretty brief summary, oversimplified summary too. But you and I met. We went to Airborne School together in April, and that was back when I was at Fort Liberty, North Carolina, formerly Fort Bragg. And my unit gave me the opportunity to go to Airborne School before I PCS, so I took it, and lo and behold, I ended up standing next to you pretty much every formation, jumped out of some airplanes.
Yeah, Alpha 802, 801, or 800.
Yeah.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So with that, I wanted everybody to know that when I met you, we were going through something, Airborne School, which was very, very intimidating for me. And it was something that I had to work myself up to do. And I felt like I needed to do that in order to reach a different stage in my life. So what I was doing was I was trying to live up to my best potential, my highest potential, my most potential. And that's why I went to school. And that's what our episode is going to be based off. Your story is really unique to me, man. When we were in the Airborne School, you talked about where you were before you became a doctor. You were in the Army, you were a staff sergeant, you were a mechanic. You went from being a mechanic, and I'm not sure you had a degree at the time. Did you have a degree at the time, or?
I did not.
Okay,
no.
You went from a mechanic, not having a degree at all, to becoming a doctor, a PhD, and that's very inspiring. I felt like the listeners could really take that and use that as inspiration.
Yeah. So I enlisted in the Army back in 2001, right after September the 11th, and the recruiter who I was talking to asked me if I wanted to go active duty or reserves, and we kind of discussed some of the pros and the cons from either one. And then he asked me if I wanted to go to college, and I did. And he recommended, like, hey, join the reserves. If you want, you can go active duty from there. That way you can get some money for school. You can still serve your country. So I ended up going the reserve route. And then when it came time to pick a job, I ended up selecting, it was a heavy wheeled vehicle mechanic at the time. And so I went to boot camp and all that jazz, and then got all the skills to become a mechanic. And then, I just was in the reserves. And, at that point, I started going to school. I started going and working towards my associates. That way I can get some promotion points and, learn some new skills and stuff too. Ended up deploying to Kuwait in 2004. And then we did a lot of convoy ops in and out of Kuwait to like southern Iraq. And then that's that's when I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start taking school a little more serious,
Yeah.
because that deployment was, rough. It was long, and I was like, man, I feel like if I take school more serious, I won't have to be, out in the desert doing this stuff. So getting back from my deployment, I really focused on school, started hitting it really hard, started taking full credits, 16 credit hours semester, and then got my associates from a little community college, Delta College up in Michigan. And I had to go to a little community college because in high school, my grades were not great. I think I took hanging out with my friends and a little more serious than I did with grades. So my GPA in high school was actually like a 2.3, I think.
Yeah.
So I had to, I had to get my grades back up, and then I just started taking school real serious. I got deployed one more time. The Army actually stop lost me. I got out in 2007. They stop lost me in 2008 and brought me back in, and then I had one more deployment in 2009.
Sheesh. Sheesh. So let me ask you
Yeah,
this before we even go further, man. It seems
sure.
like you didn't understand your potential yet, and it's something had to allow you to see your full potential, right? What was that?
Well, it's I don't know. I think it was just some self reflection and feeling like I could do more than what I was currently doing. But when you kind of come from a small town in Michigan, no one really knows how to guide you
Exactly.
in the direction. So my parents were always just blue collared, hardworking. So when you started asking them, like, can I go to, if I go to school, what subject should I study? What kind of career can I get from this? They didn't know. They're like, well, we would just graduate high school and just get a job.
Yeah.
So I would really say it was my older brother Tony was really big into going to school. He went to University of Michigan. He was working towards his bachelor's, and then I think him kind of going that way, and I started discussing with him as far as like, hey, what route to go to school. And also, I had another friend going to school. He was actually going to school for pre med, and so then that piqued my interest in biology. I would say those two influences outside of like my immediate family, really helped kind of guide me as far as how to improve yourself, like on an intellectual level like that.
For sure, for sure. So it really was the inspiration of an outside force, an outside entity. So you knew what it was you wanted. You felt what you wanted to do, and you felt your potential, but you needed that push from somewhere else, right? From outside, or you received that push from outside.
I did, yeah, absolutely, yeah, because you never know what your potential is until you start reaching it, and then
Absolutely.
when you can kind of reflect back and like, oh, like I probably would have never have gone this route if it wasn't for these people kind of
For sure.
talking to me about it.
Your potential has a seed has to be planted for your potential to be manifested, and that's what happened with that, man. Something I want to go back to something because I just thought about this. You say you joined in 2001, right after 9/11, right? That means,
Yep.
yeah, man, we're the old dogs in the army now, man. Something we talked about. You actually just celebrated a birthday, huh? 40 years old, huh?
Yeah, I'm 40 now.
Happy birthday to you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, for sure. Now, with that, your pushing your potential obviously came from you. It came from individual. No matter how much inspiration you got, you had to be the one to enforce your potential. But I will ask you this, man, because a lot of times our inspiration comes from our family, right? You're a family man. You're a military veteran. You're a husband. You're a friend, a doctor, but most of all, you're a man, right? Let me ask you,
Yeah.
how important was your family when it came to the vision of your potential? The family you created, your wife, your children, were they a part of that at the time?
My wife was.
Okay.
So we've been married for over 9 years now. And honestly, without her in my corner, I don't think I probably would have even finished grad school for my PhD. So, having her in my corner, like my friends really helped kind of kickstart my drive to go to school and start working towards getting a degree. But my wife really supported me when it came to getting the PhD and all those long nights and in the lab, trying to write your dissertation or get ready for a big presentation or something like that. But really, really, really important. I would say, like, without her, I definitely would not have gotten my degree.
That's awesome, man. We have to. always give thanks to those who help us, man. And a lot of times, most important people is your family, your spouse, so that's awesome.
I know, like, it's weird making that transition from being self-sufficient to really relying on another person, especially when, the things get hard, and you have that support in your corner to really kind of, keep you going, keep you driving forward. Definitely, like, you don't have to do this stuff alone. You can, it's great to have that kind of support system if you can find that.
Yeah, that is very important, man. That support system is very important. That's what we need. That's what we need to keep going. A lot of times, going back to potential, man. The truth of it is, man, we all start life with unlimited amounts of potential, right? It is up to us to foster that potential to what we can be. And it's something you said earlier, man. You said just where you grew up, you didn't see a lot of people going to school, a lot of education. Like, so sometimes we become what we are, where we are, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
No,
At
absolutely,
the
yeah,
time, yeah. So I wanted to capture that and talk about that because our true potential isn't met sometimes because we often form unhealthy habits, unhealthy thinking habits, thought processes, and we hinder our process or impede the growth of our potential because we get stuck. Oh, this is where I am right now in life. Where I live here, nobody does it. I can't do that. So let me ask you,
yeah.
how did you overcome that? What was the major thing outside of your inspiration, or brother? Like you say, you look deep within inside, but there still was times. I'm sure there were times when you were like, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. When those moments hit you, what did you do? How did you overcome that?
Man, I get those every day, even now.
For sure, for
I
sure.
it's I think really when I came back from my first deployment and kind of got out of that little bubble you were born into. I kind of got out of that and then started really talking to other people and getting all their experiences. And then I really think kind of getting out of that bubble really helped me kind of pick what I wanted to do and not what everyone around me was doing. People, like I said, graduated high school, you got a job somewhere, usually at GM or Ford. That was what was really big in Michigan, trying to get on the assembly line. And then once I got out of that, I really started to kind of get out of the thought process that this is what's expected of you and started moving into this is what I want to do. I want to go to school. I want to start working towards a degree. And back then I never would have thought that I would have ended up with a PhD, and the PhD I have is in cell and molecular biology. But if you would have told me at 20 years old, when I got back from my deployment, that that's what I'd be, achieving, I would have never have believed it. Just definitely getting out of that bubble and then just start taking the path that I wanted to take, and then just started on my path.
What I gathered from that was your belief in yourself, your belief in the process. And a lot of times,
Yeah,
all the time, often, I mean, successful people, you have to believe and you have to have that belief in order to start something, man. And the fact that you keep speaking on, you decided what you wanted to do, that meant you believed in yourself, and that belief is what
yeah,
carried
yeah.
you to where you needed to be, or where you're at now, rather.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once I just kind of decided, hey, this is my life. These are my decisions, and this is what I want to do, and stopped, thinking about what other people thought I should be doing. Is really, I think, what kind of separated me out of that pretty much predestined path I was probably going to be on.
For sure. So it sounds like most of your obstacles were really internal obstacles. They were obstacles that you had to overcome within yourself. Were there any physical or limiting factors that was keeping you from not reaching your full potential at the time?
Yeah, I would say probably finances. I didn't have money, and like I said, when I went to school in high school, I didn't get good grades, so I didn't get scholarships. I wasn't getting grants. I would say that probably the finances aspect was probably what held me back a lot. But I worked 20, 30 hours a week as a waiter at a restaurant and just kind of put myself through school. And in addition to the Montgomery GI Bill, that really kind of was the physical limitation I think I had was just finances. And but I just kind of worked and just did my thing, took out student loans when I had to. But yeah, I would say that those were the limitations that I had.
For sure, for sure. I know you're very happy that you took the first step. When I hear that first step, I go back to airborne school, man, and every day on our line in our squad, we talked about it like the first jump, when we're gonna jump, the nerves, being afraid, right? But in reality, all we
Hmm.
really had to do was take that first step out of the airplane, right? Once you take that
Yeah.
step out of the airplane, everything we were taught, it came into play just instinctively. So it goes back
Yep.
to you doing what you're doing now. Your life and your thought process, the way you thought and what you saw and what you saw in the future, that prepared you for that first step you took. So when you took your step, it's like, now I have to become what it is I want to become. And I really, in my opinion, I think that's what pushes us. If we're looking to do something, that pushes us to reach and soar past our individual goals, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like you said, you got to just take that first step, and then just trust the process.
Yes, yes, that is the most important thing. Trusting what's going on. We talked about a lot, and we've talked a lot about your journey, right? But now it's time to give the listeners something, right? The inspiration they need, the push they need. Your story is so remarkable. I have told your story over and over and over again. I actually wrote a paper on you at school, and I told you I was going to send that to you. Coming from where you were and where you are now, that is so inspirational. So, for the listeners out there, will you tell them what it means, what it should mean to them to live up to their full potential in your own words? What does it mean to live your full potential, John?
Oh boy, that's a big question. Because I even now, I'm not even sure I'm currently living up to my full potential. So there's always that kind of doubt in the back of the head that you can always go bigger, do more. So it started with, I don't know if I can join the army, and then I just put that first foot forward. Then I joined the army. Then being terrified, while you're deployed, and then getting home, and then being terrified going to school, and then being terrified getting into graduate school, then being terrified to defend your dissertation, and then being terrified, it's always scary to kind of start making that strive to your potential, and even currently, I have a PhD. I'm a captain in the Army. I don't even know if I'm living up to my full potential because I'm always, as soon as I knock out that goal, I start immediately looking at the next goal. Like, what else do I need to do?
Absolutely.
So it's, yeah, I think it's a journey that you never quite conclude. I think it's just something you constantly strive for. And I think as long as you make little improvements every day and take a step in the direction of that every day, whether that's you get up and you work out, or you, before you go to bed, you read, or, try to get some work done early so the next day you can get a little bit more work done. I think those little steps really kind of help you reach your potential. And then I was always afraid of like going stagnant and then
Yes.
just being comfortable where you are. And I've never been comfortable in accepting the things that are around me. I'm like, well, this is just as good as it's going to get. I feel like there's always something you can do to improve your life. Like I said, whether it's working out or reading or just doing a little extra work, going above and beyond and getting recognized for that kind of stuff.
Yes. That was power in that answer, man. That was power. And I'll tell you where the power came from for me. When you stated, when you set goals, you reach your goal and you set another goal. You don't get blinded by the lights of reaching your goal. You set another goal, because sometimes when we reach a goal, oh, I made it, I don't have to do this, and you find yourself getting stagnant and you don't push any further. So in order to keep moving forward, you have to keep your eyes on goal after goal after goal. And that sounds a little selfish or a little arrogant, but that's the truth. In order to live, you have to have a purpose, in my opinion. I live for a purpose. I'm still searching for my purpose, and sometimes a goal is my purpose. So, yeah, that was power, man. That was powerful. What would you advise the listeners to do in order to reach their full potential? Obviously, we talked about how you got there. How would you advise the listeners to kind of push to their full potential?
I would say get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Be like I said, I'm scared a lot as far as like, am I making the right decision? Am I doing the right thing? Am I building my career in a direction that I want it to go? And I think a lot of people kind of stop at that point because doing new things is scary. You know,
Every
I've
day.
been I've been scared constantly. I'm scared, just like in airborne school, just being terrified, just getting there day one, like, oh man, all the way to that last day when we jumped out to, just being scared is okay. And that, new things can be scary, but if you can drive past that and you can see the long term goal, and it can also be overwhelming too. I think a lot of people get
Yes.
hung up on that too. And it's like, well, this is a lot. This is
Yes.
a big decision, especially if you have a family too. Like I have two kids and a wife, and it's like, hey, if I make the wrong decision here, this could be very bad for them too.
Yes.
Um, but to get past that fear and say, hey, well, this will be better for them, and you put them first. Like, hey, if I have to suffer through this to make life better for all of us, then you just have to eat that fear, and just go with it. But
Absolutely.
it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to And I don't know if I'm using free Garrett kind of like liberally here, but it is scary. All these things are scary. It's not as scary as like being attacked by a bear, but it can be scary as like my whole future, you know, could go sideways on me. I'm just comfortable where I'm at. I'm just gonna stay where I'm at.
Yes.
Um, so I think just getting over that fear, I think is definitely the how you can help achieve a goal or get to that potential that you can get at.
Man. Again, it's power. More power in your words, man. So the whole time we've talked about Dr. MacArthur, I want to talk about the potential as husband John or father John. Like, do you feel like, obviously, I know you can't, no one can feel that they've reached their full potential as a father or a husband or as a friend, right? But do you feel like you're on the right path of reaching your highest potential as a husband, as a father, as a friend? And are you where you feel like you need to be on that glide path to get to where you want to be as a father, husband, and a friend?
I once again, I feel like I could always do better. I always feel like I could be a better husband. I always feel like I could be a better father or friend or brother or son. I always it's hard to balance when you start really getting into achieving a goal. Like when I was earning my PhD, you kind of lose track of people because you're so focused on achieving that goal. Then once you get your PhD, that I started focusing really, really hard on my goals. Even when I joined the Army again, after I earned my PhD, focusing on myself so much that I started to realize, like, oh, like I have kids now. I have,
Yes.
a wife. And then I am now so goal oriented
Yes.
that I'm not focusing on them as much as I should. And I started really kind of like reflecting on that. And I think actually airborne school is when I was like, I need to work on that. I need to, because when I commissioned back into the Army, I immediately started going to all these additional schools. I started focusing on building my military career so much that the family kind of took a back seat. On this most recent PCS to Tripler Army Medical Center, my wife and I talked, and I was like, you guys are going to be back in the front seat. Like, you guys are now my number one priority. You guys are my focus. So on those weekends when I could be writing papers or looking for Army schools on ATARs or reaching out to my command as far as going somewhere, they're more focused on like, hey, me and the kids, we're going to go to the swimming pool, or we're going to go to the beach,
Yes.
or we're going to go to the zoo, or, a kids museum. And, having my kids get on a bike and go ride bikes, is to me like the best way to end a day. So having that ability to look and then at yourself and that self reflection, like, is this what I want to be? If I was my dad, would I be happy with me? Try to spend more time with the kids is definitely something we can all work on, I'm sure. But yeah, there's a balance, there's a balance with that. If you focus too hard on the family, then your career might go sideways on you.
Yes.
I, but it's okay to put your family first. Even now currently at work, I'm like, hey, I have to go home. It's like, it's the end of the day. I want to see my kids before they go to bed.
Yes. Yes. And that's important for them as well, because that allows them to want to work towards that potential, because they have that support system. They know that my dad loves me, and I've seen what my dad does. So now I'm more comfortable living or seeking my potential, because I know if I don't reach it or if I have problems with it, my dad's always going to be there for me, right?
Absolutely.
I think, man, family changes the trajectory of your life, your potential immensely. Like that's like the to me that was like the that's what has changed my goals and my potential in so many ways. My family, right? Because I want to be the best for them. So in the end, for me, it doesn't matter how much I accomplish, how much I do. If I haven't lived my full potential as a husband, a father, a friend to the people around me, like then I don't feel like my potential is reached. That's why I decided to start this platform. Like I want to help people reach their potential, whether it be at work, family, friends, or whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like my
Yeah.
purpose is embedded in my family. So it doesn't matter how great I've been in the army, how great I've been in sports, how fast I can run 2 miles. It's all about what legacy am I leaving for my family. I feel like that's my potential. Not to go on a tangent, but I felt that's something I wanted to share.
No, I mean, and that's absolutely, a good potential to have as well. It's just like, you got to be there for your family. They should always be first. They should always be put up in the front. And they should be the reason why you want to achieve the next goal, like why you
Yes.
want to have your kids be in a more comfortable. You always try to, you want to have it better than how you had it. And
Yes.
I think that's how I work so hard, because I know that, hey, it would have been great if I had these things when my kids, and maybe I'm setting them up better for the future, helping them reach their potential sooner, because, I didn't start going to college until I was 20, oh man, 21. I think I just turned 21. So it would have been great to go 3 years earlier. It would have been great, that when I defended my dissertation and earned my PhD, I was 35. The average age of the people around me were 28. So it would have been great if I could hit those potentials earlier, if I could have had those things given to me earlier. But I mean, you just have to work through it, and just work with what you got.
For sure. For me, what I always say in those cases, it doesn't matter how long it took you to get there, as long as you got there. Now you're there.
Yeah,
So that's awesome.
down there.
That's awesome. Listen, I can tell you as a brother, as a friend, as a brother in arms, I am extremely proud of you, and I'm extremely happy for you and your story. You are a true inspiration to all of us. I thank you so much for coming on this show and actually being a part of this movement, the Fix Your Crown King movement. I mean, what we want to do is we want to inspire men. We want to help men as they go through life. I mean, sometimes we're unsure of ourselves and we're uncertain, man. And you definitely are an inspiration to all of us. So I definitely want to thank you so much for coming on, man. And I give you this opportunity now to leave the listeners with something, some inspirational, whatever you may have left for them that you want to say to them, man. This is your opportunity, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Happy to do this podcast. I really think difficult to say, what it is to be a man. I know growing up, men are strong. You don't ask for help. You just do when you do. But you're never supposed to be afraid. But it's okay to be those things. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be afraid, and that I think that once people start getting over those fears and start trying to achieve the things that they want to achieve, I think not only will they have a better life, but I really think that they'll feel more fulfilled too when they start prioritizing and start, like you said, always setting a goal and always just trying to reach it. It's just self-improvement. So suppose that's how I'll wrap that up, Rich.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hey, you all join me in giving my brother, my friend, Dr. John MacArthur, a warm round of applause. All right, again, man, thank you again for coming on. I appreciate your support. I'm looking forward to your future endeavors. You better believe I'm going to be following your journey now, and hopefully we run across each other again in the military, in life, and we can talk about all the things you've accomplished. So again, thank you so much for being here, brother.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. Small army. There's no way that we're not going to see each other again.
Absolutely, a small world. All right, brother. Thank you again. Kings, once again, thank you all so much for joining us and taking the time out your schedule to listen to this podcast. As always, I'd like to leave you some resources. The resource of today is Alma. Alma, much like BetterHelp.com, is an online service. It provides you online therapy to help you on your mental health journey. Alma provides you with therapy service. The therapists are licensed and vetted. Kings, you must understand that your mental health is very important. And if you struggle with speaking with the therapist in person, try these online services. However, if you desire in-person therapy, speak with your primary care physician. Your primary care physician can help you find a proper therapist. In addition, if it's an emergency and you require immediate mental health services, contact your local emergency services. Kings, there is beauty in your struggle. There is power in your experiences. Kings, be powerful. After all, we're all kings. Fix your crown, king. You deserve it.